Mommy Track Daddy Whispers podcast is now called Birth Agni Podcast.
Hi, how is your coffee this morning? And if you're having an evening tea, I hope it keeps you warm and motivated for the rest of the day. Dear listeners, you know Divi turned 2, and I now have entered an entirely new world of my baby. She's speaking, she's almost able to express her needs clearly. She's a firm, strong willed, but a soft hearted child. So it's a new age for her, and it's new life for me, and a lot of new problems, and hence new solutions, and hence this episode. Welcome to Mommy Track Daddy Whispers podcast, a place where we discuss pregnancy, postpartum, and parenting. We try and give a voice to things that are less talked about. We intend to generate awareness through expert knowledge, information, and experiences, and grow into a community wherein we mutually uplift each other. My name is Divya, and today we're going to talk about toddler life. Toddler life problems, toddler parent problems, psychological developments that cause it, and the probable solutions. So, if I have to describe the toddler life from my experience, I would say Divi is stubborn sometimes, which means that she is very sure of what she is asking and she wants to do everything on her own. She does not want to sleep day and night and is on constant exploration. For example, मम्मा मेरे को यही खाना है, मम्मा मेरे को फ्रूट अपने आप कट करना है, मम्मा मेरे को कपड़े आयरन करने हैं. And if I'm in the kitchen, Mama, I want to eat what you're making, even if it's not ready yet. So, toddler life undergoes varied developments. In today's episode, we will see their development stage, the problems, our methods, and the probable solutions, like I said. To understand why they behave like I just described, it's important to consider their development stage, what all they're going through. And once we understand what they're going through, we'll be better able to mold our methods to be able to manage them and manage ourselves. So let's start. So, the first thing I would like to talk about in terms of their development would be that 2-year-olds are almost physically equipped. They can run, they can walk, they can climb the stairs, they can sing, they can dance. So, they are physically equipped. They can pretty much do everything. So they're on their fastest exploration. They can reach things up there in the drawers. They can open drawers. They would pick that stuff. They'll throw it. They would do what they want. They're learning by exploration. That's why they are at their naughtiest best. Another thing would be language. And this can be pretty much about the fact that they're able to express themselves and they know that, and they're quite confident that their words are being received in the right way, in the same way that they're saying it. So you cannot fool them anymore, which leads to it becoming a phase of conflicts between a parent and a child. So, physically equipped, able to speak their mind. The third developmental stage would be emotional development. They can understand emotions. They were always able to, but now they're beginning to control it. They've started practicing self control and they're still not there. So they are in a confused state. If I have to tell you, in a way that they know that they need to sleep, but they don't want to sleep because they think dancing is far more important. They can start using strategy from this age. And hence, they can be emotional meltdowns. They can be emotionally exhausted because they are taking a lot of stimulus. They are taking a lot of inputs and they are growing really fast. They can be low, they can be cry some, and they may refuse sleep, like in my case. So, those were the developmental stages, and that's why we know why a toddler parent knows that it becomes a shift from how they were, and the signs of it are more visible once they enter that age. And we've always taught ourselves to be gentler parents, right? We do not want to yell at everything, and that becomes really hard. It's really, really hard to understand things from their perspective and make sure that at the same time the rules of the house are clear. That is, they know what they should be doing and what they should not be doing when they are really fast paced in their development and we have to catch up with them. So, that balancing part that requires patience, which is beyond stars. And since this is so hard, we may give in too many times and we may be very rigid with rules at other times, which is why it's very important to understand the methods that we use to tame them at this age. How those methods should actually be tailored to adjust their developmental needs as well as caution them and create the necessary boundaries. So, in order to do that, I've divided these methods that we use to tame them into 4 fractions. We'll discuss each of these methods one by one and we'll see what works better for each one of us. Like always, I am no expert. I share my experience and learning. Hence, I rarely provide hacks. You'll only listen to methods on my podcast. I talk of methods, I talk of processes that you can mold as per your unique relationship with your child. That has to be kept in mind solely when you're taking parenting tips from anywhere in the world. Please make sure that you take the right clues from your child, that you listen to your child when you apply them. They might not be tailored for them and they may actually do much more harm than good. That being said, let us start exploring. This is a tender age. This is an age where understanding starts maturing and it's still not there, like I said. This is an age where the tools to explore the world are available, but what needs now to be done is that the rules of the world needs to be set. The rules on how to explore, the caution, the boundaries, and the emotional health, all of that needs to be put into perspective. So the methods are overregulation, underregulation, power struggles, and trust. First, we'll discuss overregulation. It's a word that I think I've coined. I do not know if it exists. What it actually means is over managing your child. So let's see what it is. Sample this. Your kid is sitting with a toy, and out of your experience, you know that they'll end up breaking it. So before your child even picks it up, you snatch it away. Oh, you'll break it. And similarly, you may end up doing this with everything they do. It might seem like a fine move for that one thing, maybe. But if you end up doing it with everything they do, we will at the same time snatch away any other chance of learning how to handle things, of learning how to improve, of learning how to be cautious when they handle things. We may also discourage them from playing. Children would then tend to you, come to you for everything. Their independent learning time will start reducing and you'll crib later. Oh my God, this child cannot sit for 1 hour on its own. So it's very important to draw a line when we are managing our children. We have to make sure that we give them enough chances to improve and show us signs of improvement. We need to be their mentors. We need to be their guide. At this stage, they're learning to control their movements. They are trying to, they're actually developing their fastest. And so this is a great time to pitch in and guide them on how to and how not to do things as well. This requires effort. This requires patience. This requires presence, which is why it is so hard. Another form of overregulation would be, apart from discouraging them by overindulging or being too quick to indulge in their play or anything they're doing. Apart from that, another form of overregulation would be over-explanation. That's strange, but yes. Sample is whenever the child picks that toy up, before they even start playing, you come back with your explanation on how to handle it. That again seems like a fine move. Oh, you're only explaining, you are guiding them. But if you pitch in too early, you do not give them a chance to show what they learned from the previous explanation that you gave them. Also, and a good example of over management of kids would be in public places where, especially, there is a strong desire or will of parents to overmanage the kids. We may unconsciously or instinctively end up saying, "Don't move a muscle. Don't drop this. Why did you drop this? I've told you 100 times now. Why are you not holding that spoon properly? People are watching." What will the people do? They'll do nothing. Nothing at all. Nobody cares. So, both these things that we just discussed, pitching in too early or over explaining yourself, it shows that one wants to be in control all the time. So, another form of overregulation would be wanting to be in control of your child. Almost always. Assuming that their behavior will prove your worth as a parent, this is actually where the problem starts. Your children work as per their psychological development, their physical development. They are in their own developmental cycle. We got to understand that children are children for some reason, and every child has a personality, a unique personality. It doesn't have to be very similar to you. So this is also an age where they imitate a lot. What parents should actually be doing is they should be guiding them. You help them understand that the world works like that without discouraging their natural instincts. You push them just a little to change their trajectory. You don't stop them. And they're individuals who need respect, compassion, love. And since they imitate, they will learn far more from that because they'll reflect the same. Control comes with wisdom. The actual control, when we talk of it, it comes with wisdom. Wisdom to know when to interrupt and when not to. And to strike that fine balance, you have to remind yourself that it is normal for children to be messy, naughty in the layman language. If they behave in a certain way in the household, they will not magically start behaving in a different way in the outside world. More importantly, your children or your child is not your report card. So relax and be their mentor and guide and not their critique. Do not blame or shame the kid for genuine mistakes. Start observing with them with a sense of curiosity, like Prachi said in one of our previous episodes. And you'll be amazed at the tons of possibilities they present to you for nurturing them, for loving them, for reflecting upon what you should do and how you should display yourself as a human being, how you should present yourself as a human being. We are that animal species that imitates. So they are very much in that age where they would see and learn. Another form of overregulation would be if your show is very different from what you preach. They will most likely become rebellious because it confuses them. And after a point in time, they will give up trying to understand because they see a clear distinction between what you're trying to teach them from what you actually do. So those were the forms of overregulation and how we should actually be molding it from time to time. Since this is so hard, since this is a very fine balance, we can still err from time to time. It only shows that we're human. And as long as we try, they'll understand. Because they imitate, they understand, they see. It's not just words that they're listening to, they're seeing us. They're feeling us. They understand the language of emotions. And if we genuinely mistake, they'll come to us. They'll hug us. They'll provide the same language of love, care, compassion that we have been providing to them when they were their hardest. Because you made them feel secure, good, loved, when they thought they don't deserve it. And now let's discuss the second thing, that was under regulation or managing poorly. Children need kindness. We need to be gentle, like I said, but it doesn't mean you have to surrender every time they throw a tantrum or they're just plain stubborn. We may have a strong desire to do that because it seems to present immediate results, harmony. But parenting is not a miracle. It doesn't show results that fast. Actually, the process that produces calm, quiet, well behaved children, relatively, in fact, is actually the opposite. It is often met with tons of crying, meltdowns, conflicts, and negotiations because you want to create that boundary. You want to set certain rules. You want to always make sure that they know that you are the guide and mentor. What we need to do is continue the effort. Repeated conversations, repeated efforts, probably in a different direction, that will help us move ahead. And hence, if your child has a meltdown, it doesn't fail you as a parent. It is plainly another situation that needs to be dealt with. We need to figure out the reason of the meltdown and then work at it. All children who come out calmer later and had their share of meltdowns that were dealt with compassion and support. So they've learned in their cycle. If you try and bury the problem by giving in, the problem stays. So it's a fine balance of being assertive without being arrogant or disrespectful, without trying to inculcate fear. We need to explain them until they understand. Sometimes their brains are not developed enough to understand, so we may feel that, oh, they're stubborn and they're not understanding. But sometimes it happens that they have not reached that stage of development that they're able to understand that one particular thing that we're trying to explain to them. So you can leave certain harmless situations, some battles for yourself, and move on and try and come back at it at a later time when it feels right to explain. Also, what is very confusing at this age is that they must be learning speech, they must be learning phrases. They must be learning phrases without understanding their meanings. For example, I tell Devi that where do you pee? She'll say toilet. And when she's already wet her pants, I'll ask her, so where did you pee? Toilet. It occurred to me later that probably she doesn't understand. And probably it's not the right age to push her, force her into using the washroom. I keep trying and trying to explain to her until she understands. Also, they pick up phrases from elders, from seeing others behaving with other people. For example, she once saw somebody say to his or her child, I'll slap you. So she keeps repeating, I'll slap you, main maar dungi, main maar dungi. She doesn't know, she doesn't understand that it can actually hurt somebody. That's where we really need to understand that their speech may be different from their development. They are not intentionally doing things. And so you'll save yourself from a lot of anger that these things generate. These statements may generate. You may be able to handle it with a better sense of the reason, with a better sense of the place where they are coming from. It may actually erase the root cause of the problem. This will also prevent you from over-regulating them. You really have to leave certain battles that can be dealt with later. And the key to do that, the key to know where to fix and where not to fix, is very crucial. And it will come from the child. It will come when you observe the child. Hear them out, draw patterns. They'll give you clues. Parenting is a two-way process. It is both-sided. You take clues from your child, they take clues from you. How you do things, how you go about doing your job, how you behave with someone else. So if there is something that your child is picking up that bothers you, see if it's not coming from you, from people around you. This also means that child management is not just about words. It's about actions, it's about our tone, it's about our body language, it's about our behavior with the child and others. We are providing them with stimulus from everywhere. You cannot regulate everything. You should not. Because, the world is just the way it is. But if a trust is developed between you and your child, they'll be very easy to differentiate between what will keep them secure and what will not. And now, power struggles. Let's talk about the culprit. We could not get Devi's sleep soon after she turned 2. She had stopped the bottled milk, and we tried to make her sleep, and we tried to make sure that a sleep routine is followed. Devi used to sleep on her own earlier. So my husband and I, we used to doze off. While she played around us, we were half asleep, we'd keep an eye, and then we'd see that she'd just come and lie next to us and sleep on her own. So I had not imagined that there'd come a time that she would deny sleep. And all of a sudden, in the night, she wanted to play. She would, on purpose, make us go out of the room. She would ask for different things just so that she can distract us from making her sleep. She would want to evade sleep. And initially, I tried calming her down, and I kept mentioning that it is time to sleep and everyone outside has slept, and everybody in the house has slept. So she should sleep too. It did not work, only occasionally. And I did not want the kitchen visits to become a routine. She would ask us to get something from the kitchen time and again just to evade sleep and go out of the room. So I refused. I refused to provide food. Told her that the kitchen gets locked in the night. Actually locked it. And unless I felt that she was actually hungry, I would not give her anything. It soon turned into a power struggle. She would ask for food, I'll deny food. She would say, I don't want to sleep. I'll say, oh, you have to sleep. The more I emphasized on sleeping, the louder was the crying. The more I denied food or the kitchen or going out, the more persistent was the try to, evade sleep. And I realized this would not work for very long. This is actually wrong. This is not happening. This is not working. And one of these days, she slept calmly while my husband and I were just singing and we patted her to sleep. I figured out strict denial did not work with her. So my husband and I, we tried to use another approach. So we do prepare her for sleep. We maintain the sleep routine, sleep time. We dim the lights. We tell her it is time to sleep. We do mention that. But instead, when she tries to, evade sleep or try to create reasons for us to go out of the room, we try and engage her in one way or another. And one day a story worked, one day a song worked, one day some random something worked. So we actually all through just try and make her lie down. Lie down and just engage her and talk to her while we pat her until she is drowsy enough to sleep. The moment she is drowsy, the moment she knows I am sleepy, the struggle ends. The struggle is only up to the point that she's drowsy. And this entire phase of trying to get her to the point where she becomes drowsy was actually a challenge. To calm her down, to make sure that she lies down without rebelling, and we are able to pat her to sleep. This also kind of helped me realize that while you try and explain something to a child, you have to make sure that they're listening, they're not closed. So a child should be calm enough to be able to understand. If a child is in constant denial and you're yelling and shouting or maybe plain explaining, it wouldn't work. They'll say, oh, shut up. Somewhere down the line, that's the feeling that they'll feel because it's a natural feeling. A child will only listen to you when they trust you and when they're calm. And how to calm the baby. Sometimes talking to them works. So if we hit at what they're actually asking for, they become free. They trust us. Okay. Sometimes it can be a pain. In that case, plain talking to them doesn't work. So I keep shut. I let her cry while I hold her, while I try and give her signals that I'm there, while I try and ask her in between, in hushed voices, if she can explain what's happening and why is she crying. And if she's not able to, I give her options that it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. And even if that doesn't work, I try and change the place. I try and take her to another area. And if she calms down, nothing like it. I take her to the gate and she calms down mostly. So it's very important to allow them the time to settle, probably sort themselves out on their own to an extent if they can. So, what I mean by mentioning all these examples was that it's important to make sure that at times with your child, it's good to avoid a power struggle, especially when it's the time to sleep. And if they're crying and you use force on them, it will actually threaten them, and their defense mechanism will get activated. And if you actually stay calm, patient, what will happen is they'll start developing trust and faith that you stay, that you see them at their worst, and they will eventually comply to routines. They'll comply, they'll try and understand what you're trying to tell them. They might even actually try and understand what's happening with them because you provide them the guidance. And when can we actually get into a power struggle? Power struggles would happen at times when you're trying to build routines when the child is absolutely okay. They just don't want to do something. Plainly because, I don't want to do it. That's when you have to tell them that they should be doing it. And you can actually push yourself to a certain extent, beyond which it will only break the conversation and will not help anybody at all. While building boundaries, you should actually push yourself to some extent with your child until they don't crack down, if that's the right word. And now let's talk about what I've been trying to drop hints at throughout all these 4 factions is trust. Something that can easily slip in our attempt to raise good, well-mannered children. It is the trust with the child that can slip. Like any other relationship, they'll grow beautifully well if we consider building it on trust throughout hardships and the good and the lovely times. But why do we need to build trust? And should not children automatically trust their parents? Because they should trust their parents, They will trust you in certain respects, but it's important for them to trust you emotionally. Because children, when they feel more and more secure and trust you in their hard times, they will learn from you. They'll keep their eyes and brains open to what you're saying. Especially when they're not undergoing any kind of discomfort, they will listen to you. So they'll not be intentionally rebellious. What trust does is it creates mutual respect between a parent and a child, which strengthens their relationship year on year. So how do we build that trust? First off, it is again a process, and it's not separate from your parenting process. It's a part of it. It's intrinsic. And let's see how that is done. The first step would be not calling your child names, not labeling them. Are you a fool? You cannot do this. Instead, speak to them the way you would with an elder if they did a mistake. You would not call them a fool. You tell them, I think you did it and this can be improved. Because this drains their self-confidence. And being gentle and kind at their worst. Knowing that they're troubled inside, which is why they seem to be angry, confused, cranky. If we observe well, we may as well be able to handle a good number of these situations where you met with meltdowns So, being gentle and kind also allows you a space where you can see and observe. Make sure that when you're trying to build boundaries, when you're trying to tell them the rules, it's the same rule that you give them. The entire family gives the same rule. So if you're trying to tell them to do something, it's important that in a similar situation, if anybody else in the house is there, they also encourage them to do that thing instead of giving them a skip, instead of giving them an exit where they can go to another person and not do it because they think that, yeah, okay, it's not that important that it needs to be done. It will make it easier for the child to slip into those practices that you want them to, undertake, like brushing their teeth every morning. Another very, very, very important thing with a child is to be honest with them. Be honest no matter how hard it makes certain situations. So if they're not coming out of the washroom after a bath and you tell them, we'll go out the moment you come out, when you know that you won't take them out at all, this will only work a couple of times. And your child will actually become rebellious, would not listen to you at other times. And you'll be like, okay, why does my child does not listen to me? Because they know, they come to understand after an age that you say things that you don't comply with. So they will not comply with what you tell them to do. So it's very important to be honest with them. So the initial hardships will make your life easy at the later stages of their development because they have inculcated that trust and they get that single stimuli. You don't ditch them, they won't ditch you. Trust is the very foundation of every relationship. If you maintain the above suggestions, you will save yourself from correcting them when they behave in a similar way with other kids. Say, if you yell at them in a certain situation, if you call them names in a certain situation, when they find a younger child in a similar situation, they will do the same. And if you do not do any of this, you'll actually save yourself additional parenting. And if you think that there is a trust problem between you and your child, at this point in time, know that you can actually fix it. It's never too late. The good news is that it can improve. You can help and guide them. You can build trust again. Children are forgiving, at least in the initial years. When they've not developed a strong independent mindset, they'll give you numerous chances. They'll give you numerous chances to help them, to guide them, to nurture them. And they're free-minded, right? They don't take a grudge for long. So before they reach that stage, you can always fix it. Do that. I'm sure you are already doing very good. You're not at the extreme. You are already in a balance. And we can all improve upon that balance by sharing these experiences and learning from each other from one age of the child to another. And when we know what to expect, when we know what changes this new age will bring, we'll be prepared. And that's what is the motive of our podcast. So those were the 4 major methods at managing yourself as a parent, because it actually helps us more than, it actually helps us and it actually helps the child. Trust me, all of this will help you develop the neural system of the child and build boundaries throughout their growing stage, and which will stay. The trust, the value in your words, the love and the security, all of that will stay. And there's something that I want to mention right now is that this is all hard work. There are no rules of parenting. There are methods. And there is no grading system for a parent or a child. Striking a balance with these methods is very, very difficult. So please be easy on you. Because it is not just a balance in managing the kid, it is also a balance in managing your work, your household, your emotional stress, your personal anxieties, your personal relationships, your own battles at work, in families, with managers, finance. And to balance that while raising a kid in this crucial age requires clarity of expectations and tremendous patience. So you may err, you may even raise your voice once in a while. It happens with me too. We fight ourselves very hard to present a calm demeanor. And it is okay, it is fine, because parenting is a process. It's not a math equation. एक step गलत हो गया तो answer गलत आएगा. Because it's not a result-driven act. It's a reward-driven activity, I would say. It has its ups and downs. The end result is an aggregate, and a thing here and a thing there only allows your children to understand that we are human too, that their parents are human beings too. You can be angry too, you can be upset. It helps them develop that empathy. So you're doing fine. You're doing absolutely fine. You're also creating a balance if you just let yourself be sometimes. And your little cranky baby who gives you nightmares at times is also fine. He'll turn out fine too. And because they are developing and because there are new changes, the results of your efforts will not be instant because you're also learning along. So you did not learn parenting as a course. There is no course for parenting. So you're also learning from the lessons that the child gives you. So it's important for you to err too once in a while. To know what to do, like I erred, like I happened to do when I was trying to put Devi to sleep. So all these results that you're expecting, they'll come slowly as the child grows and learns along and becomes stable after, say, 15 years when they're absolutely independent. While the work at craving those results, they would seem like eternity. Be assured that all your investment is worth it. Keep registering those beautiful moments, the ones that, bring a smile to your face and the ones that make you feel proud of being the mother of your child. Treasure those moments. They are your rewards. And be brave like you already are. You're outstanding parents. You're tremendous and you got this. This process that we call parenting has actually made you a better person. So those would be the positives that you can count upon. It has made you more patient. It has made you more observant, more compassionate, and all the more loving. So it's a win-win situation for both. It's not a one-sided thing. And that is my parenting tip of the episode as well. That parenting actually teaches you something. It improves you in so many ways. So take care, you all. And once again, remember, your super mischievous child is not intentional. What they're doing is instinctive. They do not need a teacher. They're learning on their own. And they'll learn best on their own. What they need is a leader who encourages them, cautions them, protects them, and guides them all their life. You are their leader. You will become their friend. And who knows, tomorrow they become your leaders. They become your mighty light. With that hope, I'll take an exit and we'll be back with another episode. We are bringing a little change to Mommy Track Daddy Whispers podcast. Stay tuned to know more. So if you like listening to us, tell us, write to us, share your stories. It will help bring you more quality content. If you think what we bring, it can help a fellow mother, a father, a sister, your friends, or even your husband, share it. You can follow us for more frequent updates on Instagram, Facebook, and other social media handles, which is mentioned in the description box. Sending you lots of love, warmth, strength, patience. Till then, keep listening.